We're here to talk today about romantic comedies.
And your unhealthy addiction to them.
My name is Kristin Smith.
I'm Paul Asay. We work for Pluggedin, and we do a lot of stuff.
Okay, so we're here to talk today about romantic comedies, and I guess about the hold that they have. Paul really loves them, and I just have to suffer through watching them.
No, here's the genesis of this conversation. Kristin has not been working with us for very long, but one of the very first things we knew about her is that she has this strange love for this movie called P.S.
P.S. I Love You, yes.
Oh my goodness! I've never, truth to be told, I've never actually seen the movie, but just the name alone says a lot, I think, about Kristin.
Yeah, I was told really early on that I have no taste in movies based upon just like in P.S. I Love You.
I don't know who said
we'll start with that.
But okay, so Kristin, let me ask you, why do you like movies like P.S. I Love You? Why do you like romantic comedies?
I think I like romantic comedies. Well, I don't know what woman doesn't like romantic comedies. Let me just start with that. And if you are one that doesn't, then that's fine. My mom actually doesn't like them at all. So I do know women that don't like them. But I really enjoy them because, I mean, they're sweet. Who doesn't want to be whisked away and, just like in love?
It was interesting, actually, because before we did this morning I was talking with my wife about whether she likes romantic comedies. I couldn't say rom-coms because she didn't know what that meant, but romantic comedies, and she says, yes, I love romantic comedies.
See?
But we never watched them together, which I find kind of interesting. So,
well, why don't you watch them together?
We watched one when we were first dating. The very first movie we saw.
That's when it starts. They reel you in. Yeah.
It is, yeah. But it's sort of interesting because I think that maybe as you've been married, I mean, my wife and I have been married for 28 years at this point. It's one of those things where I wonder whether the need to watch romantic comedies or the desire to watch romantic comedies sort of goes away after a while. I don't know.
Maybe it does. I've only been married for almost 3 years, so I'll tell you in.
Do you watch romantic comedies with your husband?
I do,
Does your husband like romantic comedies?
He likes some of them. So this is the system that we've worked out. We share movie nights. So there will be, on Fridays, he'll choose, and then the next Friday, yes, typically, something that crashes and burns, guns, yes. And then the next Friday, I get to choose, which is inevitably a romantic comedy.
P.S. I Love You, all the time.
Every single time. I cry
week.
On cue every time, that's all I watch.
Oh my goodness.
But we wanted to talk about how they influence the way that we interact with our significant others and the people that we love. You mentioned watching James Bond and that it influenced you as a young child. Can you tell me how?
Yeah, no, I think that as I watched James Bond movies, I would always watch James Bond movies with my dad. They would just be they'd be on TV, we'd watch them together. They were not plugged in friendly, obviously, but it was interesting to me how much they influenced what I thought that women wanted. And not so much really about how to treat women, thank goodness, because James Bond is a horrible role model. But I think that when you look at James Bond's whole persona, that was sort of the guy who I felt like I could be, because you can dress nice, you don't have to be. I was never a really strong jock type person who was, the big deal back in middle school. But I could dress well. I could pull off an English accent. And I think
I'd like to hear that.
Another time. Yeah. I think that it's sort of one of those things where we look for role models, especially for relationships, and especially when we're young, in our entertainment, TV, movies, that type of thing. And I think that when you talk about romantic comedies, one of the things that I've often heard is that romantic comedies, although they can be light and fun and cool to watch, they do sort of set up a set of expectations for what relationships should look like. Have you found that?
Yeah, I think that's true. So I watched A Walk to Remember when I was, whenever it came out, and I remember it being this huge deal. And Landon Carter was this bad boy who, I think every girl wants a little bit of that, right? But especially Landon Carter because he was attractive. And so Mandy Moore plays this sweet, innocent Christian girl, and she slowly starts to fall in love and vice versa with him. And he's transformed into this really great guy, but he still has that edge.
Yeah.
And so it was this really bizarre experience. I remember watching it thinking, where are those guys? I think I'd like one of them.
Well, you know what? And it's interesting that you say that. I've never seen A Walk to Remember either, thank goodness. But it is sort of interesting that the theme of changing this person. You have this bad boy, and you want to change. And it seems like that's... I don't want to get too weird about this, but it seems like that's sort of a desire that women have sometimes when they watch these. They want to see that change.
Yeah.
Is that realistic?
I think sometimes it is. I think there's a part of us that if you see something, not necessarily broken, but maybe damaged a little, perhaps you'd want to help it out. And I also think there is an appeal, not just for changing guys. I mean, I think we all need to change, but there's also this appeal that you'll find someone that doesn't need to change. Because in a lot of the romantic comedies, the guys are already like that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they have their edge, but they're just sweet and they open doors and they say I love you, and then you walk in and Pinterest is right in front of your face. There's an elaborate date waiting. It doesn't always work that way.
But does that, one of the things that always concerns me about this genre of movies, you know, is the idea that does it set people up for false expectations when they do fall in love, when they do get married? If their husband or even their wife doesn't fall into that, all of a sudden do they feel like there's sort of an emptiness, that there's something missing in their relationship, even though it's a perfectly good relationship?
Sure. I think we can be tempted to fall into that. So if anybody watches This Is Us, it's obviously a huge show, and I've been the one that's been reviewing it regularly. Paul really wanted to, but I had to beg him for it. But anyway, as I was watching This Is Us, the main character, Jack, in real life, he was talking about how a lot of women had messaged him saying, I wish my husband was exactly like you. He's not like you. Can you please help him become like you? and he's thinking, and he replied, and he said, you know what, that's not fair. He said, you need to love the real human being in front of you. And we get, a lot of times, you know, I think it can happen in a lot of ways for guys and girls. You can create what you wish you had.
Right.
But that doesn't, I mean, you might not be what they wish they had.
Right.
So that's not very fair.
Yeah, no, I think it's really interesting. And I wonder even if there's, like, even a spiritual component to be found in this. Because I think that as Christians, we're always encouraged to change. We're always encouraged to be better, be the people who God wants us to be. We all know that we're fallen, we're imperfect. We're always trying to push ourselves into a better place and hopefully get better day by day, which is sort of what romantic comedies teach.
Yeah.
And yet there's an understanding that we're all lovable just the way we are, and we should be loved for just what we are, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's true.
Yeah. So I think that's not a bad place to land. What do you think?
Sounds good to me.
All right.
We're gonna go watch P.S. I Love You.
No,
See you
we're
guys
not.
later.
Bye.